Hello, I'm Father Scurti with Friends of the Word, the Weekday Word. My guest today is Pixie Shamila Ferris. Did I say that correctly? Pixie, welcome. And Pixie is a faculty member at William Patterson University. She is Indian by birth, and that's been the focus of the show, having introduced us to your culture in India, growing up as a Catholic in predominantly Hindu environment. And that experience was a pleasant one?
It was to me, yeah.
That's great. And you studied there until what age?
Till I went to college. I started college in a Jesuit university in India, St. Xavier's.
And your family is from Goa?
Right, my
Okay.
father.
The origins of the missionary activity to India go back to St. Thomas the Apostle. And it's really the Byzantine church that was inspired by St. Thomas's missionary activities. But he's Christian, and of course he's one of the apostles. So the earliest culture in India is Christian Byzantine in style and worship and liturgy. And what I want to do is quote a section of the missionary activity from the documents of Vatican II as to what missionary activity is all about. Now, what was once preached by the Lord or fulfilled in him for salvation of humankind must be proclaimed and extended to the ends of the earth, starting from Jerusalem, so that what was accomplished for the salvation of all may, in the course of time, achieve its universal effect. And that is just one little summary of what evangelization is all about, spreading the word throughout the world. And it was at what time in history did the Jesuits land, you might say, in southern India?
Well, I was told it was the 1600s. I don't exactly know, but I know my family was supposed to have converted in 1650.
So way back when, and your family's been Christian.
My father's family, yeah.
Right. It's funny because it's fresh information for you. If I were to trace my family to the 1600s, I'd have to go through some of the archives in Italy, and we don't have connection like that. I mean, I am an Italian citizen because of my grandfather's nationality. He was Italian when I was born. But it's interesting how familiar you are, going back this nonchalantly to the 16th century when your family was converted.
Apparently, they traced their records because they wanted to marry within the church.
Right. And you grew up in a predominantly Catholic environment.
Well, the part of India I grew up with was predominantly Hindu, but we lived in a Catholic. I went to a Catholic school. We lived in a Catholic church. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Very much like when Europeans came to the United States and other cultures too came to the United States, they grew up in a what we call like a ghetto, a religious ghetto. I mean, we were in an Italian ghetto, and right next to us in Jersey City was the Polish ghetto, and then a few blocks away the German ghetto. We didn't call it ghettos, but that's what they were. In an appropriate way, it was a gathering place. So your gathering area was Christian, Catholic, in a predominantly Hindu culture.
But what was a little different was the British were in India till the 40s, and so the British used to give positions of power to Christians.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
In the South?
Throughout India.
Throughout. Oh, interesting.
Because they were educated in Christian Catholic schools. So
right.
They were educated in English.
Was your first language English or?
Well, until I went to school, I didn't speak English. So
Okay.
I apparently started speaking English in the first grade.
Oh, okay. So was Hindi at home?
Yeah.
Interesting. As you know, I'll be going to India in a few months, and I look forward to just seeing some of the art and architecture. What was that like growing up the architecture and art is amazing because it's so different than ours. It's not European, of course, it's Indian. And the temples especially are filled with thousands of images of their deities.
Which are thousands of years old.
Yes, right? Exactly.
Yeah. But you're going to the Golden Triangle, which is largely Mughal. The Mughals invaded from, I guess, the Middle East, right?
Right.
So a lot of that architecture is what would be called Persian or Iraqi or
Right. So,
and the architecture of Goa and Kerala would reflect the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church.
and it's interesting because the Orthodox would be Byzantine in culture, which
Right.
is central dome and central plan, but the European
Goa,
would
right.
be more from the Portuguese roots.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So if I went to a church in Goa, it would look like a European church.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
Mediterranean, right?
the architecture wasn't incorporated into the Catholic churches, whereas some
Not the native architecture was
no,
not.
no.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you studied in India, and you came to the United States when?
19. You want the year? 1983.
Whoa, okay, it's fine. And you studied here.
Yes, I went to school in Kentucky.
That's great. And how long was that experience?
How long? Well, I got my bachelor's and my master's there, and I went to a very small, very liberal school in Kentucky called Berea.
Mm.
Um,
And then graduate studies.
Penn State.
That's it. Great. Where you got your degree in communication.
My PhD.
PhD. Now, Dr. Ferris and I were colleagues at William Patterson. Now we're friends and past colleagues at William Patterson University, where you were so involved with the communications department. And tell the audience something about the communications department at William Patterson, because I think that's
Mm-hmm.
it's a unique experience and such a positive experience.
I think it's positive. It's a very big department. I think probably one of the biggest on campus after business. And it's unique in that we have radio, film, TV, theater, public relations, journalism, and communication studies, which I do, all under one roof. And I was just telling Father Lou, they renovated all the TV studios where he used to film. It cost over $2 million, finished last year, and everything's HD and digital now.
Fascinating.
Right.
Maybe I'll come back and do a show
Yeah.
as a guest. Okay, having worked at William Patterson together, we both came in contact with a lot of students.
Mm-hmm.
Were the students here in the United States very different than the students in? I know you didn't work with college kids in India. What was that experience like? How culturally different or similar were they?
I think American students take education for granted, where in countries like India and China, they are so huge. It's very competitive to get into college. On the other hand, it's fabulous to be in a country like this where everybody can go to college.
Mm.
You know, anybody here has the right to and the opportunity to, which
Right.
is great, which is why I chose to teach at a place where, you know, you get to see students who want to be in school and don't have any impediments.
Great.
Where,
What? How did your family choose to come to the United States from?
well, I came here, but my family moved to Canada.
Oh, okay.
My mother did not like me.
Let's decide there. Let's discuss that. How did you leave your family? An Indian woman leaving her family. I know you're Catholic, but you're still Indian. Did that go over too big? Too well?
Oh, no, my father sent me here. Somebody had to pay the tuition.
Okay, so he was supportive of that.
Right. My father studied in England, and there's a tradition among, I guess, say, the wealthier families in India that the children go to boarding school when they're younger, so you get used to being away from home, and I went to boarding school.
Great. And then you wound up here and studied there. That's great. And we met each other at William Patterson, as I mentioned, especially involving our celebration of Mass and liturgy. And when we met, were you married?
No, I moved to New Jersey because my then boyfriend got a job here, and I got a job at William Patterson, and Father Lou married us.
At that point, Brian was Lutheran.
Yes.
And he converted.
But his father was Catholic, remember?
Yes. And he converted, and that was a great experience. So we go back. So you had several anniversaries now.
Right.
and the experiences at William Patterson was just so wonderful. As a woman, and as an educator, and as an Indian, what was the receptivity at William Patterson?
Well, the really nice thing about William Patterson is I don't think gender or race played a role. I didn't feel like it did. You know, I was just a faculty member.
Yeah, not just that. I mean, really,
Yeah.
that's great. That's a great thing to be proud of as far as the university goes. It's a state school. State University, and I think it's very open, and I think it's
Yeah.
very accepting towards
And
students.
I have to say this. I started going to the chapel because somebody told me Father Lou had dogs. And
Right?
Advent and Noel.
Yes.
Advent. I loved
Oh,
Advent. Would
yes.
always be sitting in front during
Yes.
Mass. Yes.
We had a very informal celebration of Mass, but it was very, very
She was the best
appropriate.
dog.
Oh,
She was
absolutely.
such a great ambassador.
Somebody said to me once, you should have put a little basket on her and let her go around and greet
Oh.
people. This has been Father Louis Scurti sharing some ideas with Pixie Ferris from William Patterson University on campus ministry, her origins in India. Thank you for joining us, and let me hear from you, Father Louis Scurti at hotmail.com. God bless you. Thank you.